It's,
So,
hang on a minute, we don't have the report.
Oh, yeah, I need that.
Alright, good evening, folks. Open a meeting here at 7:22. Apologize for the delay, but we're meeting with the town attorney, so it ran a little over. But now we're here and ready to go, and so open meeting with the full board and town administrator and recording secretary, and ready to go. 10 minutes.
Yep, and I will make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from Thursday, August 11th, at 7:02, as written.
Second. Second. Any discussion, gentlemen?
No, I'm good.
Unless they get something, I'll have to buy a pen.
Be my guest.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen non-public meeting minutes from Thursday, August 11 at 9:15. And I'll also make a motion that these minutes be sealed.
I think we already did them last
Did
week.
we?
Yep.
Okay, I'm not sure about that.
Should be those ones.
Okay.
Yeah, we did it when we
Yeah,
came out of the,
all right. Cool.
that's when they really should be done.
Yeah,
You can withdraw your motion if you want.
I will. I'll withdraw the motion to seal them because there already been a motion
Yeah,
to
it's
seal.
done.
Okay.
Last meeting.
We got a second? For the first one to accept the meeting minutes?
The first minute's already
No,
second.
no,
No,
these
for
minutes.
these. I
Non-public.
made a motion for the non-public.
He was making two motions in one to kind of,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
so he would withdraw the sealing portion of it. so.
Right.
Okay, well, I'll second that.
Okay.
Any discussion, gentlemen?
No, good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did you vote on the last one?
That's it?
Did we vote on the last ones?
Yep.
So Tom made the motion, you're
Yep.
seconding.
Do you have tape?
Pardon?
Do you have any tape?
Yeah. You go out of order if you want.
No, we have public comment. If you guys want to begin in public comment.
You might wanna give them a chance, somebody might wanna leave before the other one.
I'm guessing no, but you can't.
Thank you, Lean.
No one declares it. All
This is
set?
the tape.
Yeah, just, check.
Yeah, recycle.
Reuse, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a euphemism. No, it's real deal.
But you got that, something this way. Alrighty. Gonna open public comments. Nicole? If you're on the agenda and you wanna address something besides what you're on the agenda for, this is the time to do it for public comment if you want to. If not, then just let me know, yea or nay. Brett?
No.
Ken?
No.
George? Chuck? Gentlemen? Alright, hearing no public comment, we're gonna close public comment. Alrighty. We got John Stark Highway signage as first, I think we're gonna dig. Gentlemen, okay, skip down
Yeah,
a lot
we-
of water?
Take it out of the
Yeah.
road.
Alright. Discussion regarding Overlook Estates, open space subdivision off Grapevine Road located in the low density 5-acre residential district as proposed by Stinson Hill LLC to receive consultation and comment from the Dunbarton Conservation Commission. And we also have Brett and George from the Conservation Commission, so I guess you guys are all kind of lumped together. You're two separate on the agenda, but if you wanna tie it all together, not,
We're all together.
you guys are separate?
No, all together.
We're all together.
Come on
Yeah,
up.
so just sort of for the record, George and I serve on the Conservation Commission, and George also serves on the planning board.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. My assistant George will hand out our handouts.
Yeah. You guys can go up this way if you want, unless you want to.
I know.
Yeah,
Friendly tonight?
so you come out clear on the recording if you
Okay.
don't mumble.
Sure.
Yeah, from last night.
You know, Brian, I'd like to give an overview, because this is a planning board request to have this meeting.
Sure.
And so I'd like to give an overview of what's happening here. They are part of the agenda. But the reason for this request is a unique one. This is an open space subdivision, which is before the planning board, and it's a lingering one. It's been there for almost 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone through a PRD original proposal to the current open space. Under the current zoning, ownership of the units in the open space have no restrictions, meaning the lots. However, the open space has three options: a condominium or homeowners association, the town of Dunbarton, or a third-party not-for-profit conservation entity. The reason we're here tonight requesting your cooperation is because they wish to deed the land remaining in the open space, as opposed to the 22 lots, to the town of Dunbarton. We approve the entities that can own the land, and we've done that kind of de facto because this is an ongoing project, and that's what they indicated they would like to do. However, per the ordinance, it says open space proposed to be owned, operated, and or maintained by the town of Dunbarton, which this is by their election at the moment, is subject to the approval of the Board of Selectmen, in addition to the planning board approval, which we hope to give them shortly too, with consultation and comment from the Dunbarton Conservation Commission. That was done last night, and perhaps they might want to give some more today. The other thing is, I would like to suggest that we don't get off track here on other matters, including things like legal review. The purpose here is to talk about the ownership of the land and the uses that you see acceptable for the land, or don't see acceptable. I want to quote from the legal review section about that town council shall advise the planning board of the adequacy of any legal provisions such as deed requirements, etc. Final responsibility for the approval of the adequacy of such documentation, meaning the deeds, shall rest with the planning board or their designee. And we've been doing it this way for 20 years on all subdivisions and roads, and anytime there was infrastructure that was outside the road bed system. And so that matter should be not really addressed succinctly unless it relates to the uses of this property. It's just a suggestion, but they're gonna offer up one suggestion, I'm sure, because it was discussed last night, or maybe some others. But I'd like you guys to look at F, open space. I think Lean gave you all a handout. In section F, it says open spaces, space permitted uses, and there's a list ranging from undisturbed land to a combination of permitted uses listed in the section. I'd like you to ultimately go through the list and tell us what you think would be an approvable or acceptable use, even after the developer tells us their situation. So we've got the Conservation Commission perhaps coming up with a suggested use. The ones that are listed are probably included in their use also. And then the third would be any suggestions from the Board of Selectmen. I think the first thing is to allow the developers, the applicants and developers to speak for themselves, and Jacques, you have a plan that you could put up there? And that would give you an overview as to what was proposed and is up for approval.
So you guys have seen this, I mean, the board's seen this or
I
not?
have, okay, board has, it's
I have never.
all because it's on the plan.
No, right. But basically, it's a 22 lot subdivision, it was approved, like Ken said, back around 2006 or so. Under the PRD regulations back then. It's basically the same idea it had back then, it was a large tract here, here, and here, that were gonna be kept in, I guess, common ownership as a association with the homes. We reconfigured the subdivision, the road alignment stayed the same as originally approved. We've added, this was known as Lot C, open space C. Incorporated that in the roadbed design, it now has some drainage structures on it, and the fire pond up here is incorporated in the road.
Section right there. Yep.
So anything that has to do with road maintenance or drainage maintenance that the town's gonna have a chance to get into work on is included with the road transfer. Then we create the two lots, the 8 acre lot up here, which is up on the town line, and the larger tract here is a little over 60 acres. And that abuts the other town-owned properties to the south. And what we were hoping to do, or the developer was hoping to do, was instead of having a homeowners association and have that, you know, amongst the neighborhood, just turn it right over to the town. You know, it kind of attaches to these properties fine, and this one here is still, it's still isolated a lot, but it's got some neat features, it's got a large wetland. It's tucked off to the south, it's not just an isolated island of land, town of Powell has property over here, so it kind of connects to a lot of different things.
Yep.
And that was the goal, is just kinda break it out from the rest of the lots, and the lots basically stand on their own, and there's no attachment to anything else, and this is open for public use by everybody in town, so just a homeowners association.
One thing this doesn't show for you guys is that there's a buffer around that whole property that they can't cut, do
Right.
anything, so.
It does go around the perimeter here, there's a 100-foot, no cut, no disturb, no build buffer type of
It's all
thing.
part of the, it's all part of the
Regulations.
the regulation, I think.
Yeah. We have
Somewhere.
basically two lots that are, I'm sorry, several over here too, that are encumbered by that no cut buffer. Most of them are free of it. Those will have to be marked with some, with a signage or something to keep people off. But the idea is to leave those intact and act as a buffer for other residential units.
I'd like to interject that the plan set itself has been accepted by the planning board. I think you were there for that, Brian, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I molded for it.
Good.
And most of this larger lot here is upland. We run along Gallup Road across some flat areas, some ponded areas, but a substantial amount of it is upland. You know, it's decent land, it's not just they're trying to give away swamp. A lot of diversity out there. Guess that's about it for us.
Bob Lamontagne, Bob Grondin, any comments? Or-
I think I'd like to reserve until the end,
Okay.
like what happens.
Back to you.
Alrighty, folks. Any questions?
No, nothing wrong.
We will.
No, I went to the meeting last night, so I listened to Conservation Commission and the representative of the planning board, and I saw a couple of issues that were gonna be included, so I mean,
And I'd be happy to outline our recommendations, like, and got them.
So, these were put together
Yep.
Paper, yeah.
at our meeting last night by group consensus. These are our recommendations to the selectmen and the planning board. Sticky enough fingers.
I'd like to respond to these.
Well, just let me,
Okay.
Let's,
Yeah.
have a
trying to
chance.
talk about it first. Just for the benefit of the gentleman in the back, I'm Brett St. Clair, I chair the Conservation Commission, here in town. And so, we basically, in terms of our advisory capacity to the selectmen, have, these 5 recommendations. The first is that, the open space parcels be included in the Bellabrook Conservation Area. And if you take a look at the map that George, gave to you, you can see that, the 60-acre piece that Jock mentioned, which we're calling parcel A, basically kind of fits in like a puzzle piece to the Bellabrook Conservation Area, and also serves to protect, the brook, which is one of our high priority, conservation areas here in town, and has been since the 1970s. That's why this conservation area was started, when we had the opportunity, to begin with. So that 60-acre piece fits right in with the Bellabrook, area. And so we are recommending that, the smaller parcel is more isolated. You know, we, as the Conservation Commission, are willing to basically, monitor that and manage it on behalf of the town. We would probably put, if it's allowed, some trails, in this 60-acre, piece, consistent again with, what we're doing at the Bellabrook, Conservation Area. So that's our first recommendation, is that it be included, in the conservation area. Secondly, that, deed compliance monitoring and management responsibilities, be assigned to the Conservation Commission on behalf of the town. From a practical perspective, what we have found is that if nobody's given responsibility for one of these pieces that's, you know, the town takes ownership of, you know, over 10 years, 20 years, it just kinda gets lost in the, you know, shuffle. Nobody quite remembers it, and what you'll end up having is abutters and so forth kinda, you know, moving in. So we would mark, you know, the area and so forth to make it part of the conservation area. Deed restrictions should be consistent with the permitted and non-permitted uses of the Bellabrook Conservation Area. These are very similar to this, section F that Ken talked about in the protected open space. You can think of this section F as more kind of like a broader umbrella. It allows things like, you know, you could have a historic or cultural center, you know, as part of something like this. We're not gonna do that, you know, in this particular conservation area, but it's along the same lines basically as what's permitted in the open space, permitted uses.
Can I ask a question while we're
Yeah.
at this junction?
Yep.
From what I heard previous in the description that Ken has put out and such like that, I'm guessing there's some not agreement with this particular portion here regarding the conservation with you folks and what the Conservation Commission wants? But you, as the owners, you guys
No,
know.
we don't.
Hmm?
We don't
Well,
have
because I
a
mean, it was like, I remember Ken saying, you know, this is what is in F and everything like that, and then said that you guys would tell us what you guys think should be the deed restrictions and such. That's why I'm kind of giving a red flag by all of a sudden deed restrictions and.
Yeah, I don't think there's any
Are we
red
gonna
flag
do-
from the discussion that we had last night, you know, with Ken representing the planning board and George being
It's
on
kind of a red flag to me, that's why I just wanna know, is there any contradictions or any?
Let me address that. Let's go to just a general description of how this works. First of all, you have a developer applicant
Mhm.
who's gonna, in this case, transfer ownership to the town, issue a deed. They have a right to not only to give that deed voluntarily,
Right.
otherwise they wouldn't have applied for this proposal. But they have an obligation to support other things that are required under it, outside the Conservation Commission. So they have that obligation and duty. And they also have their own thing to represent. You know, it's their property, they may have certain things that they require. I don't know what they might be or not,
That's what I
but they
mean,
might
so-
include those.
It just made it kind of threw me a red flag, is like, you know, with the way you said it, it was like, here's what, you know, this says, and this is what the Conservation Commission has, and then, and we're gonna let these folks tell us what they think it should have. When you said they think, it kind of gave me a red flag, it's like there may be some issues, and I just wanna know, are there any issues or not, that just makes it a lot easier.
I don't know that there are.
Okay,
I
great.
think that there's some
Good.
excitement.
I just didn't go through this whole,
Yeah.
paper chase here, and then get to the end and they say,
I
well,
think
we don't
there's-
agree with this and we don't agree with that.
There are
Let's get
definitely,
it out on the floor now.
there are definitely, since you serve on the planning board,
Mhm.
there are definitely some timing questions here that I wanna bring
Yeah.
up on a legal, level, or perhaps later,
Mhm. That's fine.
which just relate to, some of this is irrelevant right now. What we're talking about is owners, the town,
Right.
feeling that this is a worthwhile entity,
Mhm.
having, these guys do a great job, by the way. Absolutely,
Oh,
compared to other towns, they do a fantastic job.
Not a problem
Whether
with that.
we want to
Mhm.
take ownership of this parcel for conservation purposes. And
Just
you-
wanna make
and
sure
you-
we get everything
and-
on the
and-
table now instead of wait till the last minute and, have to, find there's a contradiction or
Yeah.
a concern that, wasn't raised.
The idea is to see if the town wants this property.
Mhm.
I really think everybody does, including you. And
It just makes
the
sense.
thing is,
So,
when it does, the planning board still has to have a final meeting. You need to say what you don't think is applicable to this property. That's why I brought up those table of uses. We wanna make sure that the town fathers don't think maybe there's certain uses applicable to this property, which are on the list.
Mhm.
And the third thing is, and Mr. LaMontaigne's already said he'll reserve comment till later, does the owner have anything that he really thinks should or should not be done with his property?
Definitely wanna hear that.
So, he can jump in anytime he wants.
Well, the things we wanna make sure, there's certain permit restrictions that DES has put on it as part of our AOT permit.
Yep.
As long as all of that's included, I'm fine, and as long as our homeowners are protected.
And that's recommendation 4, I think, that we.
Yeah, that's all we have to do is protect.
Yeah, we just wanna have the town attorney check, there's some stipulations in this document that you
That's,
received.
that's
from
all
DES.
done, all done normally.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, that
And
makes
it's
sense.
not gonna be left out.
No, just, like I say, the way you worded it just kinda gave me a red flag that there might have been something that underlined, I just don't get it out on the table now and just get it.
Sounds like all
And,
five.
and just, in terms of,
But there's nothing that's great, let's move
for
forward.
you, gentlemen, these parcels abutting the Bellabrook Conservation Area, quite frankly, is gonna make it, be a sale point, I think, I would say, for your.
Yeah, I think it's a win.
Yeah, win-win, so, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, they know no one's gonna build there.
Yeah.
It's free.
No,
It's like free
no,
land.
the real estate agents will be, promoting that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, so, anyway, I think
I'm
we're
sorry to
all,
interrupt, but I mean.
no, I think we're all, basically, I guess we take questions, I think, again, I think this makes sense, I mean, it fits basically into the Bellabrook area like a puzzle piece.
Mhm.
We'll handle the, management and monitoring responsibilities, deal with DES, I think, in terms of being the entity in town, that if there was a problem, we'll have to go try to work it out and solve it.
Yep.
And basically, that's what we do, so.
Alright.
And I think number 5 kind of addresses
Yep.
the communication between planning board and conservation commission.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense.
And this, regarding the deed review and all that,
Mhm.
and we received a deed from, Stinson Hills,
Mhm.
which I think we're in general agreement in the Conservation Commission, it's a well-written deed. We had some edits to it,
Mhm.
which we don't wanna get into here,
That's not
per se, but,
here.
the general flavor is the same
Mhm.
as what the applicant wanted. We took out about 3 pages of text regarding a wildlife management plan
Mhm.
that seemed a little superfluous, but otherwise it's generally, our recommendations are to be consistent with what they had provided to us in the past.
But once again, the deed is not an issue for this,
No,
it's a question for
that's
you
not-
gentlemen tonight.
But the point I was trying to make is, they provided us with what they thought should be good uses. Our proposed use for the property is consistent with their
Mhm.
request.
Now, this open space permitted uses though goes above and beyond what you're requesting for this particular piece of property, correct? Like the agricultural and forestry activity sounds reasonable, but horticulture center, you're talking, that sounds to me like a building of some sort.
Right, yeah,
They
I
don't-
mean, again, this
When
is,
it's not
this is
present.
like boilerplate, that's not
Right.
what we would, that would not be consistent with the, Bellabrook Conservation
Right.
Area, so we would anticipate like,
What's
kinda
the kinda
A,
consistent with the
B.
Conservation Commission and how you manage the land anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had, we've never had one of those. But, you know, A, B, C, forestry activity, we're not sure about agricultural, this has to be
Yeah,
checked by the town attorney.
Right, the principal use would be,
Yeah.
forest management
Mhm.
and, water quality, basically a natural state,
Yeah.
some hiking trails, you know,
Low
consistent, just
impact recreation.
lower impact, and
No
every
snowmobile and no motocross.
3 or 4 decades, come through and
Mhm.
do some timber harvest.
Yeah, makes sense, like we do now with all the other town properties.
Forest, yeah.
What's that?
Just like you do with the other forest.
So, that all being said, got other questions, gentlemen?
I do not, no.
You guys got questions
This
for
is
us?
good.
So are you looking for a motion from us to take?
I'm still wanting to hear from you guys, for the record,
Oh,
what else you don't wanna see here? I mean, is this the most acceptable uses? When this goes to the planning board at the first Wednesday in the month,
mhm.
I wanna try to limit discussion, if possible, to the most opportunities.
My personal opinion is that this land would be managed no different than any other conservation land that's abutting it right now, as in, you know, if we're not allowing snowmobiles on that conservation land right now, then we're not gonna allow it on this land.
But we
It should
shouldn't
be a
have
mirror
things,
image of the way it's being managed.
but we shouldn't have like, even if it were permitted, like one of the side lots, the 8-lot thing is not under the direct jurisdiction of DES right now.
Which one?
We shouldn't have historical or cultural centers, yes, no,
It's okay.
Oh, you're talking about like parcel B?
or, yeah.
Well,
There's,
George did state that they would.
that's not part of the mitigation strategy of the DES right now for this parcel.
That's why parcel B is separate?
No, it just happened to be that way.
Oh,
The plan would be just to keep it same use and not get complicated about it.
yeah, I mean, I'd just keep it simple, that's just my 2 cents, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm only one person, so.
Agreement.
what do you-
Generally-
Keep it simple.
Conservation land, undisturbed for the most part,
Yeah,
low impact use.
Yeah, I mean, and you want an exact list of what, you know, who can or what can, I mean,
Do you have any alternative uses as the town fathers?
I mean.
gonna go camping.
Just wanna make sure this issue doesn't come back up. What you want?
It's.
Campground?
I wanna go
Camping.
camping.
Yeah. Low impact, right, except for parking your car in there.
Carry out.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, it's, LNT.
I mean, simple, you know, simple walking trails and stuff, hiking trails,
Yeah.
I mean, that
I
makes
mean,
sense.
kinda like what's down there now, it's nice, I was down there recently,
Mhm.
I went down on the brook, it's nice. There's no water in the brook, but it's still nice.
Okay, so to cut to the chase, if you got other business here, I'd like to see a consensus or a motion that says you're going to, the town fathers would accept ownership of this property. That's it, in a nutshell. If you wanna put conditions on it, how they manage it or something, that's outside this discussion.
Well,
And then
I would
just,
think I'd make a motion that it would be for the town to accept this, you know, to accept this property under the management of the Conservation Commission and to be managed with the same consistency as other conservation property abutting this property. Simple as that.
I'll second your motion.
Don't ask me to repeat it, cause
You got a tape of it.
yeah, we gotta take a bit. So we have a motion and a second, so I guess, is there any discussion, gentlemen?
No, you know, I listened to the proposal last night that was brought forward, and it makes a lot of sense. It's a lot nicer to keep it low impact, you know, and let people just go and enjoy where they're gonna, if they're gonna be out in it.
No, I wholeheartedly agree, I think Conservation Commission does a great job in keeping our lands looking good and open for the people to use and such, and
Yeah, I've walked that
It-
floor down there, it's pretty nice.
it makes a whole lot of sense, I mean, just make it all part
Yeah.
of the thing to me, I mean, I could be wrong, if I am.
You're not wrong.
Tell my wife that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Anything else, gentlemen?
Nope,
Alright, hearing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Good.
So,
Thank
we
you.
will, when the
Thank
time
you,
comes,
gentlemen.
we'll accept the property as such and be under your
it's not,
auspices.
that's gonna be pretty soon.
Yes. Cool. Gentlemen, you got a,
You got anything to add, Randy, even though you just made the motion?
Alright,
On behalf of the town, thank you very much for donating to us, and appreciate that.
Okay, you're welcome.
and thanks for letting us use this room last night. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Alright, now, there's a motion given for a public meeting for the eighth.
Yeah, I want to see that on the.
Oh, yes, actually twice, because the first RSA was wrong, so I posted it twice.
Okay, so we have posted, so that
You guys have to-
and that'll be for the deeds and
Right,
full
and then,
acceptance.
and then the,
Just to try
planning
and,
board is planning on having a workshop the day before, so they will accept the final plan, so at public hearing,
That's the one you guys
you'll
sent us?
be able to have the final plan and, final deed reviewed by town council and approved, and then, open for public discussion.
Linda just handed us, selectmen's topics, for Saturday's meeting. She gave us each one. I don't know if you
What
guys
meetings
know.
are they?
I don't know. But once we get to training, I'm guessing.
Oh, it's the
Oh,
business
that's
election
like
trust?
Georgetown,
Yeah.
yeah. that's
I'll be in
like-
New York, right, it's over any, I can't go to that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I'll be long gone.
I'll be in London. Don't know, maybe there.
The inquiries have already.
That's a trip I had planned long ago, so
Cool.
I'm still just get it, but what I can.
But I might have some differences with him, so I'm saying
But
there are
thank
some
you for the
differences here.
topics.
So right now, that, you want your submittal.
Are you going, Paul, or are you?
I'm going Saturday.
When?
Take notes.
Mm.
Take notes for us.
I went to the last
Yeah,
one.
well, there's a couple other things here.
Well, let's see, select property site for polling place are done, one, in light, I think we have no problem, it's gonna be September.
We could do that, but there's certain things we need to reflect on, we need, yeah, we could do
Budget,
that.
budget, I don't know why we did that.
Meeting or something. And we need to reflect on some of the
Budget
DES.
elections.
I've already started working on that. There is a couple of glitches on the,
Just the selectmen topics, the
so
same.
that way you don't even have it in your name.
Good there.
Is that correct? Still, what's his name?
Alright, so Brett and George have already kind of, these are two together, so.
You did? Okay, well,
Wanna start highway signage?
Yeah, the John Stark Highway sign,
Is that in this?
all right, AOT's fine, AOT's in
Right
here.
here.
Permits up at the end of the year.
Mailbox.
I
All
was,
three versions.
may have been out of the office and John Stevens may have dropped something, the
Did he-
proposed location, show.
oh yeah, he was
Yeah,
supposed
it's
to
the town,
put
it's
together
a
like a
plot.
map for us, that's right.
I've been through this
So
before.
It
this
should be in
Flawless
there.
Field.
Right here in town, once they had wetlands mitigation on the hill.
I think you might have already passed it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
it's coming, next one, it's on
mitigation
it.
said we weren't allowed to use
There you
the
go.
area which.
That's where they're proposing.
You're Oakland, and after you said they were gonna.
So the,
I think they put them already, didn't they?
no, this is another one, I was approached by, J.R. Hoyle originally, Paul, and, he, asked me about, a sign, John Stark sign in the middle of town, apparently they had four
Well,
more
first of all, we gotta
signs
have-
made up. They've given
we gotta
one to
make
each
sure
of the
that they-
towns, and they've asked that the towns erect them in the center of town. They're trying to draw some interest in the center of town, so they wanna make a ceremony of this.
This is not, this is off the record,
on
but
Old
on the
Home
DES thing. it's
So,
okay to
John
start
Stevens
construction
bumped into him here last week,
Until you have approval.
and he was, kinda spearheading this thing. So John put together this map, and he was gonna get it kinda thinking about putting the sign, so I haven't seen this, but
Maybe
I,
on the side of the highway.
Okay, let's,
Then DOT needs to be involved if it's on 13, unless it's on a.
we'll talk about it and we'll send it
I
to
think it's,
the.
no, we
What
need to
names
mark
the-
it
what
out of
names
here,
the
because I haven't seen this.
So then, go by start,
I think it's over near the
Statute or no?
statute.
I don't see any marks really, to speak of.
Everything,
you didn't put any marks in there?
no, we don't do signings like that, we wanna check, we
I
wanna
don't
check.
know where,
I don't see,
he's added some stuff on it, cause I
Couple
don't
things
know.
outstanding.
well, I don't see, maybe he's asking us to
We're
pick
not
the
signing
spot.
lots.
So,
I thought they. put a
yeah, I
mark
thought he
on
was gonna
there.
put a mark on it, but I don't see one.
Because it's gonna be on anywhere on 13 here, the DOT.
DOT has to,
Here,
Give
traffic
approval.
needs to have to be
Yeah.
approved and.
do they?
Yeah.
Alright, well,
Last time
we
we
have
pretty
enough time to do
complicated.
that before.
You got $26,000.
I don't know what that takes,
have
does that take
connections.
Brian making a phone call?
Probably.
Yeah,
I didn't even have to do
Okay.
things.
Excellent.
I see Bill at the North.
I know you know
all the time.
people, I know you know people, Brian.
Yeah, I know.
so is it, is he asking the board to pick a spot? Is that what-
Yeah, that was my understanding.
Cause I mean, if it's up Roger Rogers Road or School Street, I mean, one's gonna be out of kind of,
Well, they're trying to
Really
put it, I
close
think,
to the
on
meeting,
the,
and I'll give you
on the
the-
byway,
What happens
in
now,
the center of town. So, when
What
I
stuff
was
that he's got to
talking
do,
with John, I
right.
was thinking, I
Help me
don't know,
here, John.
this area, or somewhere along here. And they were supposed to give us some suggestions, but I don't see any suggestions.
Well, can I make a suggestion? The marquee out there, if you put it like 1 foot from
I
the
didn't look at
parallel
any-
to the
I'll tell you
marquee,
why.
doesn't create an extra,
Yeah,
like
I know,
jog or
'cause you've
something
already
that you have
changed
to
them
go
out once.
around, but in line with the marquee, you're looking at the marquee and you're looking at the sign,
Yeah,
it's right
Good
side by
idea,
side,
too.
I don't know.
So would
we're
that,
only
does that
talking
require
about,
the,
on the plans, we're only talking about.
DOT
60
get
spot.
involved if we do
it's
that?
in the right of way, it does.
And there's only a few feet.
That's pretty big, 60 feet, right, right away for
So-
state?
Yeah, that's 50 feet usually.
Unless we're asking
No,
for complete
it's
redraw.
more for,
Depends on the
No,
size of the highway.
I thought it was 60.
That's right, so my
Depends on where
position
the
on that
cemetery,
is
we
to
can't
wait
be within 50 feet of the
almost to
center
the
line.
end, to make sure that there's nothing outstanding.
Is
You don't
our,
know how many
marquee
times,
within
not
the,
just your
right
job.
of way?
Somebody comes up with something, they're sleeping at night,
I
and
think
they
we
wake
got
up and say,
permission for that,
they
but
forgot to
we
put it
can
on
do
the plan and they call up. Jacques has been pretty good at correcting things.
Well, anyway,
last minute.
The
idea is that
we
Mylar
can pick a
gets
spot
done
that we can,
right
go
where we're
chase
going.
It's only gonna be
It's done.
seen from one direction,
We
correct?
did one for
it's
him
only
today,
one-sided sign,
and, you know, I didn't even wanna look at it.
But what they wanted to do is
And it
have
just said,
posts
take it.
put in
It's
place,
done.
and then they were going to, at the end of the
But it
parade,
was too many iterations.
make a, ceremony of putting the sign and up on the post.
I would say put it up and cover
But
it.
I tried to tell you
Just
that
take
the
the
other
cover
day,
off.
it's
Yeah, I think
that's the
that
whole.
works too.
Yeah.
Well, it should not be the
Save
whole
it.
thing.
Yeah. Put a bag over it.
This doesn't have to go to town council.
But
to
that
come up
was
with
kind of what they were
something
talking
that
about,
we
so maybe
find
we'll have to talk
accessible.
with John about how to come up with it.
Acceptable.
So if it's a one-sided, it definitely has to go on the lawn,
By the way,
it's on
yeah,
our
but-
side, so you're facing
I'll send you this mark for
north, is that north?
I'm not going prepared to
This
tell
is
you
the-
some of this.
I haven't seen the signs of which way
Some
it
If
is.
it's on the side of the street, you know, I mean, traffic's going north, so you want it facing south.
Well, I don't think you're gonna put on the other side of the street.
Over here?
No, yeah, it's on the north.
Yeah, it's not.
No,
So
town
it's
council's not
on
gonna
our
contact. Our
That's
town
private
council
property over
is,
there.
Yeah.
is not as confident as
As
you.
long as it's in the right of way, you still put it there.
Fine, you did. I just, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah, we don't need
You
to.
create a hassle.
We'll end up down and someone will run over it.
Absolutely.
It's up to the planning board. We will send this to
Yeah.
town council.
Okay.
We are, I'm the chairman, you're.
So I was thinking
So,
down here in this area, but,
And it
you
should
know,
be when there's something to send to them.
whatever,
What are your thoughts? I
When
don't know.
we get all the information
Yeah, but
back,
roads going
the
both
emails,
ways, so, you know, I don't know if
some of
it'd be
that is critical to
obstruction.
what you're trying to pull out.
I think that they
leave
put
in.
it, well, the marquee's somewhere right about here,
yeah.
What's that?
so, you know, either here or here, I guess. is
Find
what-
out exactly what that is from DES.
And that's kind of what they,
I'm gonna
discussion
make
was.
sure everything that they want, even in extended form, is in that deed.
Yeah, I think it might be problematic in this area.
Yes.
Coming over the hill and you know, it's right there.
What's wrong with that, George?
Yeah, maybe for line of sight, maybe down in front of the library further.
So you need to review it, and then it goes to town council, and then town council.
Of course, it's on daylight, so we can't really take over.
Why can't we talk to DES? We didn't say DES.
Yeah,
We don't say
send it to
town
tomorrow.
council talks to DES.
Can you include the permit in the?
Should we print up a Google map of the center?
You have to sign it. It has to be
We're not gonna do us any good.
Yeah,
on the last
Well, I
page.
don't know,
I
there's already
think
several
somewhere in
signs
this
out
area
along there anyway.
might be better than.
I do this.
There's an old parking sign out there already, and
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know whatever else is out there, but I know
You
a
call
couple
it- you
signs
call it
already
a-
out there, so.
You call it an easement for the first three words.
It'll just get cluttered.
Alright, so
Yeah,
alright, what we got?
Now, the yield sign is over here.
Yeah, yeah.
Just,
It's,
What about in this part of this section?
I'm okay with it.
I don't know what you think.
that's just.
Cause I mean, that way you come down over the hill, you know, those people going this way, you know, are gonna go towards, Robert Rogers are gonna go, and anybody going straight, you know, to see it here.
I think their intention is to bring some notice to the center of town.
Well, one, it's right here in the center of town, you get the start.
Yeah, so you get things that people are looking at anyway, so.
We don't do anything.
And then it's,
I don't know if
it's
the one-
removed all the other signs along this side. I don't know, just throw that out there. Be kinda nice to look at it in the daylight.
big a sign is it? That they're talking
It's,
Two by
it's
two?
it's one of those, just like they're along 13 right now.
2 by 2, I believe.
Yeah, they're not very big, I mean, they're like a, speed sign, or, you know, they're all pretty much standard size. Probably about as big as that plaque on the wall right there, the brown one.
Yeah, I think it's a little bigger than that.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, it's a nice size.
Reading tables too, if you want, or that reading slate.
Yeah, but you got, I guess, the 20th, what is it, the 23rd?
17th.
The 17th,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna be on you
That's,
before you
oh,
know
that's
it.
right too, yeah.
Labor Day's next week.
So that's pretty quick.
Yeah, it is.
Well then.
And if we
Nice.
get-
But, you know, there's two of you that decide, if you decide to put it here, that's fine. And if we find that it's problematic or it looks like too much stuff in one area, I mean, you can always move it later on.
Yeah,
But at
yeah.
least for the day, they'd have something.
oh, it's that big,
Yeah, it's like, say 2 by 2, or maybe 2.5 by 2.
it's bigger than I thought.
That's always a good.
Yeah. Cool.
Do they have a height that they, on
Usually
the
around
start?
7 feet.
Yeah, the
Okay.
state may have a
Yeah,
requirement.
they do. It's usually around 7 feet, because that way it's above the snow.
Yeah, so you're right, though,
snowbanks.
they need to cover that, put it on the post and cover it.
Yeah,
I think
and
that
then-
makes a lot of sense.
Yes, we only have one, right?
Yeah, there's only one, yeah. It's not printed on both sides, is it?
no,
No. Cool.
Now, where John was contacting you, are you up for being the point of contact, or?
Oh, yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I would say, we make a
Sure.
motion, and we'll just let him take and deal with John and come up with it, and just,
Sure.
All right, and you'll chase the state for approval?
yeah, once you don't have a location, let me know, and
Okay.
I'll just mark it up in like a PDF or something
Alright.
like that, and circle it, said here, kind
Here.
of thing, and,
yeah,
X marks the spot.
and I can take that PDF, and I can just talk to the.
Alright.
that's exactly what I did for the flags, I put it on
Right.
poles.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we, give the authority to take and locate the sign to Mr. Rolo.
Second.
Any discussion?
Plenty.
All those in favor?
You're overruled.
Aye.
Aye.
So there's your.
Okay, cool. I'll get a hold of John.
And I'll take and deal with, the traffic. So that way we don't sit here and hash it all up, just
Yep, I'll figure it out.
I trust you.
Okay.
Find a good spot, that'll be good.
Mhm.
Alright, return to work policies, next. Alright. You sent this to us, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, I
Did you
saw
update
that.
it any more since then?
The one that you have in your inbox, the difference, there's my copy.
No, this is the one you
Here.
issued.
No, that's, if you look, turn to page 3, and it carries over to page 4, just a little bit. All the references and forms, I
Mhm.
took out the category that
Yep.
had the reference of HR with the
Mhm.
number, cause that
Yep.
was
That's DOT specific.
DOT specific. And then I researched a lot of these, and
Mhm.
these are standard forms that are available through
Mhm.
Department of Labor, Workers' Comp.
I was gonna say, like, I went looking for some of that stuff and I found it right on the website.
Right, so they're pretty, and I've got 3 binders behind my desk that are specific to forms that we can print off,
Right.
when we need it. I'll be taking off the reference on that reference group, the bottom line, 6 no longer exists according to the RSA, when I looked that up,
Which one
so.
is that?
Reference, right at the bottom, I had a line through 6, I'll take
Oh,
that out.
okay, got you,
I realized I didn't take it out before, but that's the only thing that I'll take.
on the reference.
So you,
Gotcha.
no,
Yeah.
it says it's been retracted or
Probably
what was that?
rescinded.
Rescinded, that's it, okay.
Do we have a copy of LAB 1400, the health and safety rules? Or safety and health? Cause you can get them right off the website.
I
don't
have
know.
their book, and I have all their forms on a disc,
Okay,
so
good.
when I went to the class, that's what they gave us.
So.
I mean, if you feel better, I can run it by Primex to see if they think that this is adequate. if there's anything missing. They have legal representation that can review it,
Mm-hmm.
and, there's no,
Yes. Get them to start.
yep,
Under, what is it, page 6 here, you have like a, looks like a highlight there. It says person responsible for implementation by site and title. What's that supposed to
page
be?
6.
Yeah, under general provisions. Right here,
Yeah,
silent.
Yeah.
That's the,
no, it just says, it's just a general, well, this is the way the format was from,
Yeah.
that I copied it from.
mhm,
Persons responsible for implementing by site and title. I kept the statement, I generalized it, said it's the responsibility of each supervisor or designee to comply with all elements of this program. So they're supposed to work in conjunction with, we don't have HR in our town. So
right,
they would work in conjunction with the town administrator or, the office to make sure that, you know, the things like, filing a report of injury and, possibly having a witness to an injury or, most of these forms have to be filed, they contact the town office, but they may have to follow up with a, you know, a second form and,
why don't we just put like right here, and where it says person responsible for implementation, just put supervisor's responsibility,
just,
keep it simple.
Change the title.
that title itself, just say,
Supervisor's responsibility, then it says, it is the responsibility of each supervisor doesn't need to comply with all elements of this program. Point.
supervisor responsibility